If you are just, deciding to start a coffee brand, a coffee company because there is money in coffee, and let me also do it, I think you might struggle. The whole coffee trade is built on a history of colonialism and slavery. In my opinion, we cannot accept in 2026 to call that fair trade when only 10 to 15% of the value of a bag of coffee goes back to origin and the rest is kept in some of the richest countries. Because the consequence of that is that, you increase global inequality by buying these products. Either it's fair trade or it's not fair trade.
What's Wild Coffee doing differently from normal coffee businesses when it comes to their model? Hi, before we start the episode, just give me 1 minute. I talk to you about something new that we're starting here today on We Need to Talk podcast. We started this podcast to have a holistic conversation between you and us here on We Need to Talk podcast. And we've been doing all the talking with our guests that we have on the podcast, but we've not been hearing from you. And yet you're supposed to talk. You're supposed to engage us. And that's why the team decided to bring this that you're seeing right now on your screen. Yes. That's the QR code that you can scan and engage with us. We're calling it the We Need to Talk guest highlight. What was your guest highlight for the episodes that you've watched? You can also scan it right now and tell us your highlights with our current guest that we're having today on the channel. So yes, when you scan that QR code, you'll be able to talk to us directly and engage us with your highlight of the episode. So yeah, thank you. Let's get back to the episode. Thank you. Welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is from Norway. I don't know if I pronounced that right. We should begin with the Viking celebration. Don't you think, Mr. Endre?
Yeah.
Should we do the Brew celebration into this episode?
I guess we should.
Oh, who's supposed to clap? I'm supposed to clap and you do the Brew, right?
Like the drum.
Okay. So,
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
the
even
drum
know how
will
it
be
works.
the clap.
I've never done it before. It's the Norwegians doing it. There's not much of a big Norwegian community here, so we haven't gathered to do the rowing. So I've seen it on TV, but that's about as far as I know. But I've seen someone needs to do the drumming, and then you row. But,
you do the row. Yeah, it's been captivating into this World Cup. Anyway, guys, welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is going to be one that you learn about coffee, but also understand how the business works, how the coffee as a plant or as a product or as a commodity, depending on how you term it in your own perspective, how it relates to you. And today's guest, I always have how do I call it? An intro for my guests. But the trick that now we have is I read or I say the intro for my guest last so that they can weigh and see how we at the and the team at We Need to Talk podcast we've done. So Mr. Endre, we shall read the intro that we had prepared for you at the end of the conversation, and you let us know how we performed and how we've gotten to capture or whatever you represent. How does that sound?
All right. That's fine. I look forward.
Yeah. But welcome to the podcast. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I'm good. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast. I'm happy to be here, and I look forward to our conversation.
Me too. So for a person who's just watching you for the first time, and they want to understand your earliest context, they want to know you as a person, what you represent, how do you explain to them for the first time if you're meeting them in the first place? Maybe you're in a street or a coffee shop or anywhere. What would you tell them for them to understand you better?
All right. Yeah, that's a tricky one maybe, but if I'm to make it short about who I am today, then I would say that I'm a coffee entrepreneur. I'm the founder of a Ugandan coffee company called Wild. And we are very much a mission-driven coffee company. So basically, our goal is to change the coffee industry, because we think the coffee industry, the way it works, is not that great. I think it should be done differently. So that's why I started Wild, and that's why I'm here in Uganda now.
What do you think someone is going to take away from our conversation?
I hope people will learn a bit more about coffee and about the value chain and how the industry works. It's it might be, people might think that, that's kind of nerdy, that's not relevant for me. But actually, if you are Ugandan or if you live in one of the coffee growing countries, I would say it's very, very relevant for you, because coffee could be, a very valuable product for you and your country. But the way the industry works now, it's far from, as beneficial and valuable as it could have been. So I hope our conversation, can enlighten people a bit. Maybe you learn something more about coffee and the value potential that coffee has, and so on. So yeah, I hope people find some insights from this conversation.
Amazing. Someone who's just clicked on this video is just wondering, okay, this Muzungu guy who's speaking about Ugandan coffee, how we we think, our judges and fathers should be speaking about this coffee. But you grew up in Norway and decided to move to Uganda, where, I think things are uncomfortable. Why made you leave your comfort and start building a coffee business here in Uganda?
It started when I got involved in a coffee project here in Uganda. Actually, it started as a farm project that I got involved with, and this farm was not in coffee in any way, but it turned into, by chance or accident, it turned into a coffee farm project. And that's when I learned more about coffee and how it works here from where it's grown. And I quickly saw that coffee as a product, it doesn't really benefit, neither the farmers nor the countries where it's grown, as much as it does, the rest of the value chain. It leaves Uganda as a cheap commodity, and that's it. That's what that's what you see, and of the coffee here, and then someone else far away from here takes over, and they do the rest of the work. They sell the final product, and as a consequence of that, they also make most of the money. And Uganda is left as a raw material exporter, and doesn't benefit basically from the potential, the value potential that coffee has. So when I realized that's we started talking about, can we do something more with the coffee that we were growing on this farm that I was involved with? Can we roast? Can we sell to some friends and family and so on? But it's Uganda and Norway are very, very far away from each other. It's a great distance. It's not easy to transport the coffee to the consumers in Norway, at least if it's smaller quantities, and if it's it needs to reach them fast, because roasted coffee has a shorter shelf life than the green coffee has. So at the beginning, I was just seeing limitations and challenges, and I thought, this can't work. But as I was thinking more about it, I started to develop a model that I thought this could actually work, and this could be, a different, an alternative in the existing coffee world. Coffee roasted at source is not something that you normally, have access to, even in Europe or in the United States. So I started to see a business model. I started to see, a unique positioning for us as a company. And I thought this is something that is, actually quite meaningful. It would be, great to try this. And I think if I don't try this, I will, at the end of my life, I will sit and wonder what would have happened if I would have tried this. So I actually, I thought I just have to try this. And so that's what led me to leave my comfortable life in Norway and to come to Uganda and to start Wild.
Wild. How's it going so far?
It's going well in many ways, but there was no denying that there has also been challenges. So everything has not been smooth. Everything has not been, like a rocket ship straight to the moon. But we have achieved some great things, and we are moving in the right direction, definitely. We have been through a couple of phases which have been challenging, but we have put those behind us, and we are now making steps in the right direction again. And I'm hopeful that we will reach the next goals that we have.
You've highlighted the aspect of coffee being taken by other parties from Uganda to other countries in a manner that, other parties benefit more. Uganda grows some of the best coffee in the world. There's no doubt about that. But much of that value is made outside Uganda, like you highlighted. Why does that problem matter to you so much?
Why should I care? It's it's a good question. I mean, I could have just ignored it and stayed in Norway, and we have good coffee. In Norway, and where I was living in Oslo, I was sort of surrounded by some of the best coffee people in the world. We had these world champion baristas and so on just around the corner from where I was living in Oslo. So I had access to the best coffee, and I had zero coffee problems in my life. So why suddenly go to Uganda and go into coffee to sort of start working on a problem that wasn't mine? I don't know. I could have stayed, of course, but so the thing is, my background is from I've been working with film and television production for about 20 years before I came here, and I used to work a lot on documentaries and some of those sometimes I was sent on assignments to work on projects in Africa, and I fell in love with Africa basically, and I think as I kept coming back, and I I got more and more involved in these projects in Africa, and with people in Africa, you get friends here, and I think
Mm-hmm.
I slowly, I started to sort of feel like I wanted to do, something more maybe, and that's why I was excited when I could join this farming project in Uganda, because you see so much opportunity. You see also a lot of challenges. So I think I wanted to be a bit more actively involved, not only to come here and share the stories from Africa, even though that was exciting and meaningful in itself, definitely. But
Mm-hmm.
when I saw that I can be more actively involved by creating something, by building a company and create some jobs and create some impact through the work that we do, then that I think that was what triggered me. It was an opportunity to start a new chapter in my life, even though I was very happy with where I was and what I was doing, definitely. And I didn't really have any plans of leaving that career or anything.
Yeah.
But it became exciting to just start a new chapter. Why should I continue to do the same for my whole life, if I could actually start
Mm.
something new and experience new challenges and new opportunities and learn something new. And yeah, I like I said, I had fallen in love with Africa, and the thought of living here and having my life here, at least I didn't know, when I started, is this going to work out or not? Will it be short term or will it be more long term? I don't know. But I loved Africa, and I thought, going here and doing something that felt meaningful was actually, it
Mm.
became quite an appealing thought. So that's why I decided to go here. I yeah, I think um, there is this concept. I'm sure many is very aware of the thing of white saviors,
White
and
savior,
the
yeah.
last thing I want to be, seen as is
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm.
probably have my selfish reasons for coming here, adventure
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
just doing something great, and hopefully, one day I will even make money from this. So
Yeah.
it's yes, I want what I do to create some
Mm.
impact here, where we are, but also it's
Yeah.
meaningful, and for me to do this, or more for selfish reasons as well. So it's just as much
Mm.
that
Mm.
life in Norway and life in Uganda is very different in so many ways. But it doesn't, mean, and
Mm-hmm.
Norway is considered in many ways, one of the best countries in the world to live in.
Yeah.
Living standard is good. The government has, all these programs to support you in case anything. And that's amazing. I'm not denying that. I'm, and Uganda, many people will say, "Oh, but there are so many challenges in Uganda, and it's you want to run away." But I don't think that's entire, the full truth. I think Uganda has so
Mm.
much, wonderful uh, things to offer. Yes, there are challenges, but there are even challenges in Norway as well. People are complaining a lot in Norway, so it's not that life, is paradise
Yeah.
and perfect in Norway either.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean previously we had a guest here who has who was highlighting about the education system in Uganda and the world at large, and we're having a conversation on whether it's possible to overhaul um, the whole education system. And he highlighted Norway as one of the best countries that have the best education. The reason why I'm highlighting this is because you you saw that most of the things here are not perfect, but you also saw opportunity to come in and create an opportunity, create a service to the people of Uganda and wherever it goes. And you've done it very well with Wild. Because personally, I've visited Wild whenever I'm in the country. And it was such a very good concept. Even like from the fruits of what you've done, look at currently the Uganda barista champion, Ibra. He was at Wild. He was doing very well. Derek, who is also one of the people in the coffee scene in Uganda, is also doing very well. So you've built that talent. You've had your impact into the people of Uganda. But for a person who is trying to understand how fair trade works, they just want to join the coffee business in Uganda, and they want to understand what's fair trade in coffee. How simply would you break it down for them?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question? Because I'm not hearing you super well all the time.
I was saying, how would you explain fair trade to a person who is trying to join into the coffee business, but they don't understand such terms or such models of how coffee operates? Like they hear, okay, I can buy coffee from here, take it here, take it here, take it here, but they just don't understand how it all operates. How can I explain to this person that this is the cycle of coffee? It is into this whole chain that you make impact with coffee, but also create opportunities for others.
Yeah. Did you mention fair trade, or you just were?
I mentioned fair trade in there.
Okay, yeah, because you have sort of the regular coffee trade, and then as sort of like a subset of that, you have the fair trade coffees. So we have not gone for any fair trade certification yet, at least.
Is it hard to go for?
You would need to fulfill certain criteria to be certified. So there is definitely some extra work and documentation and so on that you will need to fulfill. So it can be more bureaucratic and so on. Some more work to be so that you can document that you do things according to their standards.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I wish fair trade was a little bit different. That's my short take on fair trade.
Okay.
I think the intentions with fair trade is definitely great. Definitely. Coffee and other products as well. All products should be, traded fairly, so that whoever, and especially when you look at products which are grown by poor farmers, that they get fairly compensated for their work, that there is no, abuse of workers and children and so on in the value chain, and all these things that fair trade has been focusing on improving. I think when fair trade started, there were a a lot of abuse and unfair practices going on in coffee, in cocoa, in cotton, and in many other commodities.
Yeah.
So fair trade has done a good job of putting a spotlight on these problems, and I think it has helped to at least improve the industry, both for certified product as well as for non-certified products, because they have helped to tell brands and buyers in Europe and the US that these products should not be we shouldn't accept this kind of trading practices and so on. So I think that's where fair trade has done an important job.
Yeah.
When it comes to the issue of the money and how much the farmers are compensated and who makes money basically in the whole value chain, I think fair trade has not been as successful as maybe many people think. I think the consumers who buy a fair trade coffee or any other fair trade product in Europe or the United States, they think probably that, when I buy this product, the farmer is getting a big share of what I'm paying. And that is unfortunately not the case. The fair trade premium is quite small, very small. And usually it does not go to the farmer, even it goes through a cooperative who can, it's the cooperative's choice how they spend the premium. So they can spend it on community projects, they can spend it on upgrading their cooperative, or they can distribute the money to the farmers. And so in that sense, the impact, financial impact of fair trade is not as great as I think many people expect it to be. But my main objection with fair trade and the way it is set up today is on how the whole trade is happening, and that's where in my opinion, fair trade is failing, because it's, in my opinion, you cannot say that a product is fairly traded when, let's take coffee. The coffee is exported as a very cheap raw material to one of the richest countries in the world. It could be a European country, it could be the United States. And a big, powerful company there buys this cheap product. They do the value addition, they brand it, they sell it, and they create and they keep the largest share of the value. In my opinion, we cannot accept in 2026 to call that fair trade, when only 10 to 15% of the value of a bag of coffee goes back to origin, and the rest is kept in some of the richest countries. Because the consequence of that is that you increase global inequality by buying these products. Either it's fair trade or it's not fair trade. There is actually almost no difference. So I think we need a completely new kind of fair trade, which is focused on where the value addition happens, because that's the only way. If value addition can be done here where the coffee grows, that's when it can really change these unfair structures of the trade of these products. And these structures, they have been in place since colonialism, and the whole coffee trade is built on a history of colonialism and slavery. And nothing has changed since since 100 years ago. It's still traded the same way. And unfortunately, fair trade doesn't change any of this. And that's
Interesting.
where I think we need, a complete remake of fair trade and a remake of the whole trade of coffee. So that's that if fair trade can, say that that's what we want to support, then
Mhm.
I would be very happy to get a fair trade certification.
Wow.
But I cannot support them, giving these certifications to companies in Europe taking all the profits. I don't want to be part of that
Mm.
that certification and that model, basically.
So you believe that the industry is so unfair, like on a global level, when it comes to the
It's
coffee industry?
fundamentally unfair. Yes, totally. There is no discussion about that. That's just, it's fundamentally unfair the whole way it's set up.
Mm. What's Wild Coffee doing differently from normal coffee businesses when it comes to their model?
Yeah, so the fundamental difference with our model is that we do the whole value addition here in Uganda. We are a Ugandan company. We are registered in Uganda.
Mm.
We don't have any, owners in Europe. We don't have any headquarters in Europe. We do all the work here and we export the final product. And by doing it this way, we can bring back 3, 4, 5 times more value from the coffee than it would normally have. So we can create jobs here in Uganda, which normally wouldn't be here. And we can create financial impact and development that would normally not happen if the coffee is exported as green, raw coffee. So that's the big difference.
Yeah.
We like to say that we create 5 times more value with our coffee compared to a coffee which has been roasted in Europe or in the global north, basically.
Okay. Value addition. It's something that many people are speaking about these days. What is it? For real? Like, what's value addition? Okay. Personally, I might try to understand it, but someone out there is like, I keep on seeing people texting or tweeting about value addition. The president of Uganda is talking about value addition. Now here you're also talking about value addition. What is it really? Make me understand what's value addition.
Yeah. To put it very simply, it's the transition from a raw material to the final product that people, the end consumer is buying. So it's taking the cotton from just the cotton that the farmer is growing and harvesting and turning it into a t-shirt or a pair of jeans or something like that.
Yeah.
That process is the value addition. And with coffee, it's actually quite simple. You have the green coffee that comes from the farm, and instead of selling that green coffee to a buyer in Europe, you roast it here and you pack it and you brand it and you market that final product which is ready for consumption. So if the more you can be part of that journey, going from raw cocoa to chocolate, it's that kind of value addition is potentially very, very valuable. There is a big transformation happening from the raw material, the raw cocoa, the raw coffee, or the raw cotton to the final product. People are buying fashion products for thousands of dollars, and the raw material used to make them is costing almost nothing. So the value of the brand, the value of the final product, and the story you make around it, and that's what that's what people buy, that's what people connect to, and that's what makes people desire a certain product. It's not because, this, the amazing cotton. Yes, that can, that can have a certain value, but it's usually in the brand and the story and what those products, does for the end consumer, which makes a big difference. And if you can be part of that, transformation and to create those kind of products, you can create something very valuable that people desire and wants to buy. And that's the magic of value addition, which I'm now starting to see it more and more. The conversation, is really picking up around value addition in Uganda and in all of Africa. And I think I'm starting to see that, Africa is really tired of just providing raw materials to the world. They want to be part of the value addition. Understandably, because you have been missing out on, jobs and value for decades and decades and centuries. And it's very understandable that Africa is now starting to say that we've had enough of this. We want to be part of what we have been missing out of for so long time, and we want to be part of the value addition. So it's great to see that this conversation is now really starting to pick up.
Yeah.
But it's not easy. It's really, really not easy to transition from, providing raw materials to doing value addition and selling the final product. It's a very different ball game.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be that just suddenly one day the politicians decide that, okay, now we're going to do value addition. Let's start tomorrow. And then, you think that, next week we have buyers and we are going to be successful and get rich. It's not that easy. It's a completely different industry.
Yeah.
So it will take us quite some time to get there.
Yeah.
But I think we have to try. We have to start, and step by step. I think the more people that does it, the more we will learn. The more we grow and develop. Not only the products, but the knowledge around it, the supporting industries, and so on. The more we will achieve.
Yeah.
So, but we need to have a long time horizon on this. We have to be patient. We have to do the necessary steps, but we can get there definitely.
Value addition with domestic consumption, especially in a country like Uganda, the culture of consuming coffee in Uganda is so low, and I guess the value addition attribute, which you have given a perspective on, like storytelling, branding, it's so very crucial to have domestic consumption shoot higher. But what are we getting wrong when it comes to promoting domestic consumption of coffee in Uganda? Because right now, the story is, let's sell more roasted coffee to maybe let's export more roasted coffees, right? But we also need more domestic consumption of our product, because like it is said, you cannot sell what you don't drink, or you cannot sell what you don't eat. So how do we get more domestic consumption of coffee in Uganda? What's the problem?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's really unfortunate that Uganda was colonized by tea drinkers.
Oh man!
So So they didn't help for sure. Uganda, as you know, have its own very unique coffee tradition with those coffee and banana fibers that you can buy on the streets.
Yeah.
That's the unique coffee tradition in Uganda. But when it comes to brewing and drinking coffee, it's not. All coffee was just an export product, just a cash crop. Just grow it and export it, and that's it. And no one cared about consuming it here, unfortunately. So improving and changing that is it's important, and it would be great for the coffee farmers and as well, that if more coffee was consumed here, you would have a ready market, and you don't have to export it. But of course, the other thing is that with more knowledge around coffee and coffee culture and coffee consumption, that would also make it much, much easier to grow an industry that can also start to export. So yeah, starting on the local market, definitely, and I hope we. But of course, now you're starting to see that. Even just in those about 7-8 years that I've been here, I've seen a big change in how coffee is become much more accessible.
Yeah.
You have far more places now where you can go and buy coffee. Yes, it's mainly in Kampala so far. Still, when you leave Kampala and you go to the districts of Uganda, it's still hard to find coffee many places. But I'm starting to see that it's changing, and I think the new young generation, which is growing up now, at least if they grow up in Kampala, study in Kampala, that the coffee is now much more accessible. I think the most important thing, if the government wants to promote local coffee consumption, and you need to get the students, so you need to get coffee into schools and universities. If coffee can be served there, you will have an entire generation of coffee drinkers, and then the job is done. Because they will continue, of course, to drink coffee for the rest of their life. So that's maybe where you should start. The older generation, they might be harder to convince them, but the Uganda is a country of young people.
Yeah.
With a median age of below 18 years. So if you can get those to become coffee drinkers, then coffee consumption in Uganda is going to go through the roof, basically.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, because I remember there's this one time I had the privilege of sitting on a table where certain decision and policymakers were, and we're getting ideas of how we can promote domestic consumption of coffee. And we're busy talking about storytelling and all that. And then I highlighted that point that you've just mentioned of getting coffee into schools, and not just universities, but from low schools, start from primary level, especially in Uganda, later primary 7-6 person start drinking coffee, try to understand that this is coffee. By the time they get into secondary education, there is an aspect of coffee in them. There's a lifestyle of coffee around them. And when you look at what's this brand here that went to China and used that same model of they targeted that young audience. The brand is just getting out of my mind, but they never went for the older audience. They started marketing and storytelling to the young people, very young people. And by the time they grew up, they knew that that's the product that they would want to go for. So you make a very good argument there that if Uganda is to start like domestic consumption, I think the young generation and young students in school is the way to go. For someone who wants to start up a coffee business right now, I'm not going to ask you to give us pointers like, okay, start A, B, C, D, do this and this and this. But what is something that they need to be aware of that they don't need to skip their eye on when starting up a coffee business at the moment as of 2026 right now?
Yeah, coffee is, it's if you're starting a new coffee company, a coffee brand, you're not coming to the market with a new product which doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
You have to compete with existing brands, and now there are quite a few of them. There are quite a few in Uganda, and there, of course, on the international market, there are thousands of them. So you need to really think about how are you gonna, be different. What is it that you can offer that none of the other brands can offer? And that's the tricky part. Coffee is coffee. To be sort of very blunt. Of course, there are different coffees and there are different qualities and so on. Why does the market need your coffee, your brand? I think if you can answer that question in a convincing way, then do it. If you can answer that and you can communicate that to the market, then you can definitely have a chance. But if you are just deciding to start a coffee brand, a coffee company, because you hear that there is money in coffee, and let me also do it, I think you might struggle, because you are just going to be one of all the others.
Do I need a lot of money to start that business?
No, you don't really necessarily need a lot of money, because you don't need to build your own coffee factory or something like that to start.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to existing roasters and roast from them and so on. So you can actually start with very little money, and just sell to your friends and family and neighborhood or something like that. That's definitely possible to just start like that, and then learn as you go and get feedback and grow from there.
Endre, you work closely with a lot of farmers. What have they taught you when it comes to business, dignity, and respect?
Yeah. It's been very interesting to learn about the perspective from the farmers' side and what they have experienced. There is quite a lot of different things. One of the things that we realized very quickly is that for the farmers it's frustrating to be so far away from the consumer. That is like a huge gap, especially the international consumers, and being a coffee farmer in a country like Uganda where people don't drink coffee even, you just you grow a product that you have almost no idea what happens. And of course that's the case for many coffee farmers even to this day, that they don't know even how coffee is consumed. They have never tasted coffee. So that was one of the almost shocking things for me. I took coffee drinking for granted, and I thought everyone knows about that, but the coffee farmers didn't. So that was shocking. I think now it's with with the world is becoming smaller, and now coffee farmers, they have smartphones, they have access to internet, they know much more today about the world out there than they did just a few years ago. So things are changing rapidly there. But another thing is the coffee industry and the value chain can be quite brutal. It's very competitive, very cutthroat. The different traders and middlemen, they operate on tiny margins, so they can be tempted to do unethical things. As they buy their coffee and trade the coffee. So we have heard quite a lot of horror stories, basically, on how they have been treated. So it's an industry with not very much trust, understandably. We have been trying to build more long-term relationship with farmers, so that they see that they can trust us and we can trust them and trust their quality. I think that's very important. We have really seen how hard it can be to be a coffee farmer. And when we started, coffee prices were very, very low. For the first few years, the prices were really low. And at those levels, it was really hard to be a coffee farmer. It was basically not, sustainable. You struggle just to cover your costs. For the last couple of years, prices have been much better. So now it's good. Now it's really great for the farmers. We don't know how long that will last, if or when the prices go down again. So, and coffee prices have always been fluctuating like that, with big ups and downs. So there is, of course, a high risk that the prices will go down again and things will be challenging for the farmers again. But right now it's good, and I'm very happy for the farmers that they are finally getting a price that is this is basically the price which should be the base price of coffee. But the thing is, it's with commodities like coffee, which is sold on a free and open market. There will always be, boom and bust, and there will be a lack of coffee in the market, and suddenly there will be too much coffee in the market. So these are different, natural cycles depending on weather and so other factors that affects the market, and the farmers are unfortunately, they have to sort of take what is coming. That's one of the most difficult questions in the coffee industry. How do you deal with this and those fluctuations in the prices?
Running a coffee business in Uganda, especially a coffee shop. What's that one best memory that you have of Wild Cafe? Like that, whenever you remember it, you smile.
Yeah, that's. I think it's the people that we have met through when we had our space on 7th Street, which is where we started from, in industrial area. We started small and then we expanded, and I think, we built our brand from there. We became known as a coffee brand from what we did there, and people came, and we met people from all over the world, actually, from what we started there. And I think, yeah, that's the best memories. Of course, the place we had on 7th Street was much more than just a coffee place. It was also it was a restaurant, and it was a bar, and it was a party place.
Yeah, it was
very
much, but
so.
that was about space. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, they know us more from, you know, the parties we had all night than they know us from the coffee, maybe. But and you know, that was fun. It really was. We had some legendary nights, I think, there. But you know, I came to Uganda to start a coffee brand and a coffee company, and that is or should be, you know, the main thing of what we do. And I think, fun as it was to have that place on 7th Street, at least when things were good. You know, we had challenges as well on 7th Street. We had COVID, which, you know, was very challenging for all of us in the hospitality sector.
True.
And then we had also the challenges with the road in industrial area, which, you know, has been now a 3-year construction and mud and dust hell, basically. And that was what caused us we had to leave that place, and we couldn't stay there anymore, because you couldn't run that kind of a business when the road was in those conditions. So
right.
It was a mixed, mixed experience, that whole venture on 7th Street. Now we have left it, and it was, of course, very unfortunate that we had to leave it in the way that we did because of the road. But at least the great thing is that now, okay, we left the nightlife. We don't do that anymore, and it was a phase that, you know, it was fun.
Yeah.
But now I can get to focus on coffee and being a coffee company purely, and I'm happy for that. That's why, you know, that's the reason for starting Wild, and now we can focus on that, and look forward, look ahead, you know, as a pure coffee company. And, that's I'm actually glad that that's what we're doing now. No more nightlife.
Amazing. That's really amazing. This is gonna be a tricky one that I'm going to ask you to do. So the current Endre right now, if he is to write a letter right now to the Endre that was in Norway, I want you to piece that letter right now in words to that Endre in Norway. Tell him how you're doing right now. Just in like, I don't know, 1 minute, write that letter for him right now. Dear Endre.
Okay.
And then write the letter for him, to him rather.
They're 10 years younger, Endre.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I would say is that do it. In case you're sitting there doubting, you know, am I going to do this or not? I would say do it. That's the first thing. You're not going to regret it. You're going to have some amazing, it's going to change your life fundamentally. So don't hesitate. The other piece of advice I would give this younger me is to don't go into nightlife. Stay away from nightlife. Focus on coffee only. Don't be tempted to run a bar, even though it was fun also, but still. So that's the two things I would write in that letter. Do it, but stay focused on coffee only, and don't be tempted to do any side businesses around nightlife and those kind of things.
Amazing.
But so that will be it.
Wow, that was a short letter, but to the point.
Yeah.
Oh well. When you look at, as we're winding up, when you look at the future of Wild, what would success look like forward in the industry of coffee in Uganda?
Yeah, that would be that we succeed in creating a really strong African coffee brand, which can take on, and be known in the rest of the world as a leading African coffee brand. That's that's our goal. And the second, I think, is that if we can help to start a movement where we see others are doing similar things, from the origin of either it's in coffee or it's in other, products which is suffering from the same things we see in the coffee industry, where the value addition is currently happening somewhere else. If we can, help to pioneer this change into value addition at source, with coffee, with cocoa, and with many other commodities which are currently being exported, without value addition happening here, that would be just amazing to see. And that's my passion to encourage this kind of change in these industries. That it's time that we see this kind of fundamental shift in these industries. So if it will probably not happen in my lifetime, but I want basically all coffee to be roasted where it grows in the future by locally owned companies. So that's a fundamental change of the current industry. And yeah, it's not going to happen in the next 1 or 2 or 3 years, but if I can at least see that process is starting, and that we can see a strong development towards that goal, that would be just amazing.
That's good. That's really good. Are you hopeful as a person?
Yes, I am definitely hopeful. Because I see I see a lot of focus and a lot of discussion, and a lot of people are talking about this, that they want. It's not only me. There are many here in Africa who are talking about this now. They want this to happen. So I think when a lot of great people unite and start to work for this goal, I'm sure that we can succeed.
Well, Mr. Endre, I really appreciate you. Is there anything that we've not talked about that you think we should have talked about?
No, I don't really have anything else on my list. I think we have covered the key things. So,
yeah.
Thanks.
Well, so the norm here, as you've been following our podcast, is every guest on the podcast leaves a question for the next guest. And so the previous guest that we had on the podcast left you a question, and they're trying to understand their realm of life, their paradigm of life, and they have questions for you, but they're not questions really. It's one question that they left you. And the question that they left you is, on the days when you want to give up, why do you not give up?
I don't know how to answer that. I've never thought about it like that. I understand the question very well. It's a great question. I think there probably comes a point, where with anything that you work on, there is probably some point, when you have gone far enough, that you have to realize that, okay, you have to give up, because it's a realization that just comes, I guess. But I I haven't reached there, and so I don't like to give up. So you feel like there is always something that you can try. There is always something you can do.
Right.
So it always makes you no, I can't give up. There is, there is another step. There is another approach. So that's why you just never give up. There is always something.
Yeah.
To try. There's always something to do.
That's true. What would be your question to the next guest?
Yeah. What should we do? What should we say? Maybe why do you do what you do instead of doing something else?
That's an interesting question. Well, thank you so much for really taking time to speak to us today. So I guess this is the time where I read your intro that we prepared for you. You ready? Right. Today, I'm joined by Endre Vestvik, the founder of World Cafe in Uganda. Endre's story is not just about coffee. It's about living comfort, starting again in a new country, and building a business around a problem many people do not think about. Uganda grows some of the best coffee in the world, but for many years, most of the real value has been made after the coffee leaves the country. The farmers grow it. Uganda exports it, but the roasting, branding, packaging, and bigger profits often happen somewhere else. That's the problem Endre is trying to change through World Coffee. He moved from Norway to Uganda with a strong belief that coffee-producing countries should not only grow coffee, but also own most of the value that comes with it. In this conversation, we talk about his journey from Norway to Uganda, why he chose coffee, the real challenges of building a business here in Uganda, and what fairness in the coffee industry actually means, and the personal cost of following a mission that's bigger than yourself. This is a conversation about coffee. Yes. But more than that, it's about risk, purpose, identity, business, failure, growth, and what it really takes to build something meaningful. How was that?
Perfect.
Did we great. Capture everything that you represent?
I think it was a great intro. Great to hear it after the fact, but I think it worked out well. Yeah. Thanks.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. Thank you, Endre, for really taking time to speak to us. And I hope someone who chose to watch this podcast or listen to this episode of the podcast has learned a thing or two for sure.